Thank you so much to all of our speakers. Thank you, Jaden, for being here today, as well as your mom. I'm not going to ask you which is more fun, camp or hanging out with us. Thank you, really, everyone for being here today. Every one of you could have been at this podium. Every one of you has been a leader in your communities, and clearly from the discussion we've had here today, the President's absolutely right when he says there's no single solution. It has to be an all of the above strategy, and it has to involve action now. And that's what the signs say, that's what we're going to do. We're happy to take some questions.
One of the prospects of really getting anything done in your own body, where there are members who firmly believe that these weather abnormalities are normal and not caused by human activity?
Well, excellent question, Mark. And the answer is most of the President's agenda is achievable through executive action. Very good news that, in fact, initiatives are already underway through Gina McCarthy and other leaders in the executive branch. This agenda can get done by the President acting and by support across the country, which is why we're here today. For example, the reductions in carbon emissions involve new rules and standards that the EPA can do on its own. They've done them on arsenic, mercury, lead. We've enforced them. And the industry itself is coming around to the point of view that in the end they have to deal with carbon. They can't just literally bury their heads in the ground. And the new technologies on fuel economy and fuel efficiency, new standards he can do on his own. The $8 billion that he is proposing to provide in loan guarantees, he can do on his own.
And the Republicans can start it by not voting the appropriation.
Well, you know, my hope is that we have shown in just the last week that there is a core group of senators, and maybe in Congress too, that believes that bipartisan action will actually be popular in the country, and that the country is so fed up, that they will not only welcome, they'll demand this kind of action. And I have been, you know, I began by saying I've been tremendously heartened. I have been so heartened by the bipartisanship which seems to be breaking out. Now, whether it's just the heat or something more fundamental remains to be seen.
But you've got an element there. I'm not saying they're just Republicans, majority.
Well, since you're not satisfied with my answer, I'm going to yield to it.
I can always skip whatever.
If President Nixon were in office today, he wouldn't be impeached for Watergate. He'd be impeached for the EPA.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, I'm not going to let him off the hook here. I mean, we're dealing with absolute radicals in the House and the Senate who deny 99.9% of peer-reviewed science. You know, this is not in doubt. These weather trends and these storms are caused by increased levels of carbon pollutants. And, you know, whether it's because they don't like science to begin with or they're bought off by the polluters, there is an unprecedented denial of science happening in Congress today. And we've got to take that head on. The polls, though, tell us that there is an electoral price to be paid for standing with the climate deniers. People of this country want Congress to take action on climate, and the numbers are increasing. Young people get this. Young people understand that science is science. And what we know is that your beliefs about science don't change with time. And so there is going to ultimately be a political price. I will just add one last thing about bipartisan cooperation. There are small places where we can actually make bipartisan progress. We are going to consider a bipartisan bill in the Senate this summer or fall to set new green building standards across the country. That is a small but very important step forward in reducing the overall carbon footprint of this nation, and it has bipartisan support. Rob Portman, a Republican from Ohio, and Jean Shaheen, Democrat from New Hampshire are the two primary sponsors. Now, that's not groundbreaking, but it shows that there are at least some small places
So
where
if
it can
the
be
polls,
rational.
if the polls are on your side, then how do you account for the president waiting until he was basically reelected to take this bold action you're applauding here today?
Well, he didn't wait, right? He took steps on regulating new power plants in his first term. He very vocally led the effort to try to get legislation passed. Listen, I think that he would have preferred, I think President Obama would have preferred for Congress to walk with him in supporting action on climate. And he worked for his first 4 years to try to get Congress to that point. Clearly, Republicans in the House have no interest in working with him, and so in his second term, he made it clear that he wasn't going to wait. But he did take some of these actions in his first term, in particular on regulating new power plant sources. I think he has just sort of gotten to the point where he recognizes he's got to act on his own.
In